What's up, everybody? Welcome back to IGN Summer of Gaming. I'm Cindy Goodman, and I'm joined by Brian Altano and Max Scoville.
Can we watch some video game trailers? I want to watch the trailers. And nobody wants to hear us talking. They want to watch video game trailers. We're irrelevant. We could be replaced by machines at any moment.
Great. Well, I'll talk then. You should be aware that you can get bonus gameplay clips and info by downloading the TikTok app, following IGN, and searching for IGN Summer of Gaming hashtag. You can also upload your own best plays.
I love your own best plays. That reminds me, by the way, we're also asking folks to donate throughout the summer by following the links in their video description or heading to donate.ign.com. Donations go to support the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Response Fund and the Bail Project, which reunites families separated by the mass incarceration system. Next week, we're doing IGN Expo 4, but over the weekend, you can catch the Guerrilla Collective and PC Gamer Show if you want to catch more gameplay and trailers. But for now, we also have some game trailers. I was promised game trailers.
I can deliver. Let's roll the trailers.
Trailers.
Ancient castles, exalted landmarks from a bygone age. Those who visit these age-old monuments will tell you... Wait a minute! And now for something completely different.
Your mother joined the kingdom and your father smelt of zombies. Whose side are you on? You have Sir Gavin, there's Lady Meredith, oh, and that's Luna. She's a, how you say, vampire. Look, it's the knights who say, you can take control of them, and now they are you. Oh, this mode is new. It's a game so nice, they made it twice. Voila! Castlestorm 2!
Wish list now.
You just got a brand new look at Everspace 2, and if that got your attention, great news, because we got our hands on some exclusive gameplay coming up right now. But if you would rather talk about tactical strategy or nailing gnarly kickflips, stick around, because after that we are taking a look at Warhammer 40k, Mechanicus, and Skater XL. But right now, it's time to talk about the spaceship, so be respectful. Punch it, Brian. Back in 2015, the original Everspace launched into orbit thanks to a successful Kickstarter campaign, and just weeks ago, Everspace 2 achieved liftoff. Space puns. Here to tell us about what's new in this open-world single-player RPG is Michael Schade. Hi, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm sorry I gave you all those space puns earlier. That was I'm embarrassed. We'll power through it. Congrats on Everspace 2. The first one was a totally kick-ass game, but it was more of a roguelike, and now you're going open world. How did this plan come together?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that quite a lot. So the first one is more like, as you can think, like freelancer meets FTL. So we have this open space core mechanic, but then we mix it with a roguelike system, which is something that not everybody liked, especially if you're coming from an open world game, like if you're used to the classic open world space games. But back then we didn't have the budget. So it was our first title for ROCKFISH games. And thanks to the commercial success, we were able to start with Everspace 2 as an open world RPG, which is basically what all our fans, or most of our fans, wanted from us. And we did a second Kickstarter last year, which was successful as well. So obviously we did something that people are super excited again.
Is that sort of like an interesting dynamic to the game development process, is going through Kickstarter and relying so inherently on your fans and their feedback?
Well, I would say if you don't have a huge IP that everybody knows already, then Kickstarter is a great way to connect with your fan base and see if your vision is right, and to work with your community on certain aspects of the game and like get them early on board. But also it's good to double down on your financials. So you're a little bit more secure. You may add new features to the game or more content. And this is basically what we did last year.
The original game was gorgeous, especially considering the fact that it was your studio's first game, and it was done through Kickstarter and everything. And again, like you said, this is not like a massive, well-known IP. You're getting there, right? But this game looks even better. So how did you achieve that?
Well, the main reason is here that we now have a persistent world, which is like you can bake the lighting solution, so you can really take all the advantages of Unreal Engine 4, versus for the first title, it was procedurally generated like with any roguelike. So you only have the real-time lighting, and that has certain limitations. But now we really can go all the way, bake super high definition lighting solutions, but also thanks to the bigger budget, we increased the team. So we have a few more artists. We also work with some AAA outsourcing people. So we really increased also the detail to all the spaceships and the textures. And it's just with more budget, you can increase the scope, but also the quality of the game. But the biggest change is really, this is now a persistent world where we can bake the lighting solution, and you can tell how much prettier now the space environment looks like.
Yeah, I absolutely adore the look of this game. The aesthetics, right down to the design of the ships, are like really, really cool to me. And for me, like personally, that's kind of make it or break it when it comes to games like this. I have to like really be into the ship design. I'm a big like old school sci-fi fan, and so this is immediately connecting with me. What were some sort of did you guys have any sort of like classic sci-fi movie or TV show or video game inspirations for the ship designs? Because it's super cool.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can't make a space game without being inspired by Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek. Of course, we all saw that, and we really love these IPs. And well, then there is the challenge that you maybe you pick some of those ideas, but then you want to blend this with your own original ideas to make this special. And another big wish from our community was that we have more spaceships. So in the original Everspace, there were only four player ships, which all had very different capabilities. So you could pick your own play style, but it was just 4 ships. And making a space game to a certain degree is like making a racing game. So having a lot of different spaceships with different capabilities is super important to a lot of space game fans. So this time around, we went for a different approach because obviously if you create a spaceship, you also have to create the cockpits. So you do a super high detailed ship itself, then you have the cockpit with financial displays and whatnot. So a lot of work goes into design of the spaceships. And this is just a huge budget if you have like a lot of ships. So this is why we came up with a modular design approach for those ships. Now, if you do these modular design approach, you have to be very careful or spend a lot of time in making sure that those spaceships doesn't look like just generic ships. So we came up with a certain set of design rules for the hull, the cockpit, the engines, the wings, which then define what kind of what kind of class the ship belongs to. So you can immediately tell this is like a light, a medium, or a heavy fighter.
Oh wow! So how many ships does that make you end up with then? It seems like almost like an endless combination in a way.
Yeah, theoretically you have an endless amount of configurations, but so what we did is like we said, so what is really designing the characteristic of a ship, which is basically the wings. So let's say the Sentinel that we have has forward swept wings. And that really defines the type, the class of that ship. And then you have variations for your hull, the engines, but there's also customization possibilities. So we have several tiers of that ship. So later on in the game, you will find more powerful versions of that Sentinel. And you also see this in the visuals. And at some point in the game, the player will be even able to customize the ship. So this is not only what kind of colors you're changing or choosing. You have like 3 different colors, but you will also be able to like change little things on the wingtips and those kind of things.
God, that's awesome. I actually, in the middle of you explaining that, when you went through this tunnel area, I whispered, "Wow," because I was just like, I really love how this game looks. So far, we've seen sort of above land, we've gone underground into tunnels, we've seen like straight up dogfighting in space, and this is like right here too. And this is an open world game. And so, what is it like to sort of fly from one end of this world to the other? Is this just a massive interconnected environment? How long would that take?
Well, the world itself, we have like 8 to 12 star systems, and each star system will have like several locations. So it really depends how much time you spend within these systems. And for us, we wanted to make this super easy to get around. So actually traveling from one side of the game map to the other side doesn't take that long, because Everspace is not about like real-time space exploration. We want to have this super fast-paced combat with deep exploration of the environment, but easy to get around. So we have more detail. There's more stuff within each location that you can do. So basically, you could go like in a couple of minutes from one destination to the other, if you're strong enough, if you're good enough, because obviously you will run into enemies that make it very difficult for you to progress if you are a rookie at the very beginning of the game.
That's actually like my favorite kind of game design, is to get cocky enough to veer into an area where a bunch of high level stuff will totally kick your ass. No, I love that. So speaking of which, let's talk about the combat a little bit, because it looks really great. What sort of additions have you made since the first game? What were some of the things that you guys were really happy about tackling?
Yeah, so we kept the fast-paced space combat, so it's very intuitive, and our promise is like, if you fire up the game, if you want to, you will have an explosion on your screen within the first minute of gameplay. So really, action comes first. But we also have a lot of depth in the gameplay mechanics. So obviously there will be a lot of different primary and secondary weapons, but then there will be like ship devices. You can compare this like skills in an RPG. And then you pick your skills, your devices. This could be like a teleporter, or you have the ability to like cause damage that spreads over certain enemies. And then over time, you find different modes that you can tweak those devices with. So there's really a lot of versatility in how you equip your ship. So it's defined, the general capabilities are defined by the ship subclass. In total, we have like 3 main classes with 3 subclasses each. So you choose your ship from like 9 different ship classes, but then you can individually change the characteristics of that spaceship by assigning different devices, and even go further with like modding these devices.
Holy crap. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. People are going to be playing this game for a very, very long time. Speaking of which, when can people start to get their hands on it, and what platforms are you coming to?
So we are now rolling out the closed alpha, which was part of our Kickstarter program to round about 1,000 backers in June through Steam. And then the first time the game will be publicly available will be December this year on Steam. And then we plan to be for about a year in Steam Early Access to really make sure that we're working with the community and with our fans to make sure that the game is really rock solid when it hits full release. And that is scheduled for late 2021, maybe early 2022, because we will also come out on console, on PlayStation and Xbox. And we're currently talking to various publishers. Might be the case that a big publisher picks up the game on console, and then they obviously would do a retail version as well. So in that case, the full release would be Q1 2022.
That's incredible news. So if you're liking what you're seeing, jump on that alpha as soon as you can. Hop on their subreddit and everything, give notes, give feedback. I really love that you guys are working dynamically with the community to shape this game into something. Because yeah, I'm very eager to play this, and especially once if there's a chance for it to hit consoles someday, even more. That's super, super cool. Michael, thank you so much for bringing Everspace 2 onto Summer of Games. I cannot wait to play more.
Stop! Hammer time. That was really bad. Specifically Warhammer time. Now I messed up the joke. Up next, we're taking a look at Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, the tactical turn-based dungeon crawler that's coming to consoles later this year. Check it out.
After the massive success of the PC release of Mechanicus, we wanted to bring the same tactical and lore-filled gameplay to console in a way that seemed more than just a simple port. In Mechanicus, you take control of the most technologically advanced army in the Imperium, the Adeptus Mechanicus, set in the grim dark 41st millennium. As Magus Dominus Faustinius, you'll lead the expedition on the newly rediscovered Necron planet of Silver Tenebris, where you'll customize your team, manage resources, discover long-forgotten tech, and control your tech priests' every move as you battle your Xenos enemy. We wanted to deliver these mechanics in a way that stayed true to the IP and brought Mechanicus and the world of 40,000 together seamlessly and effectively. That said, let's take a look at these features in action. A big part of Mechanicus is the large array of customization available to the player. We call this augmentation, and this is how you level up your tech priests. As your augment capacity increases, you can attach a variety of different weapons and upgrades. From melee weapons such as the Power Axe, to the powerful ranged weapons such as the Phosphor Blaster, to the Refractor Field Generator which shields your allies from dangerous attacks, or the Sanctus Canister that can give bonus damage to your next offensive move. Here from the bridge at the Caestus Metallicon, you can choose which mission to take. Missions are delivered to you as requests from your highest ranking crew members. New storylines will unlock based on previous missions you've completed, and which ones you choose will affect what happens within the story of Mechanicus. Some will expire if you leave them unattended for too long, so your choice has to be a strategic one. That choice is something that we wanted to give players throughout the game, from how you customize your tech priest, to which units you take on a mission, to the decisions you make on that mission. Choice is a massive part of the game, and it enables you to play the game exactly how you want to, all the way to the 3 alternate endings that you develop depending on your playstyle. It's really up to you. The story of Mechanicus crosses the paths of the Adeptus Mechanicus and Necrons like no other game, and was written especially by Ben Counter, one of Black Library's most prestigious authors. You are tasked with defeating the Necron forces laying dormant on the planet of Silver Tenebris. By searching the Necron tombs, you will uncover STC fragments which you can use to upgrade your tech. The more you search, the more STC fragments you can potentially discover. However, be warned, the longer you spend in the tombs, the more Necrons you risk alerting to your presence, and the harder the mission becomes. Each chamber may offer great rewards, but like all good 40k narratives, there is a risk as danger may be just around the corner. That danger comes in the form of encounters. All encounters begin with a deployment stage where you tactically place your units. This could be a small area or a divided deployment, mixing up each and every combat. Each encounter will have an objective. These can be completed to either end the encounter or progress to the next hidden objective. Combat takes place in a turn-based tactical system. Every unit has its own initiative, represented in the top bar. This is the order in which units will take their turns. A unit has a set movement and a selection of actions they can choose from. With Mechanicus, there are no action points. You simply move and shoot as much as you can. There is, however, a mechanic that is very unique to Mechanicus. This is the cognition point. Cognition points are acquired in many different ways, either during encounters or in the exploration map. These points allow tech priests to move above and beyond by activating their most powerful weapons and abilities to allow them to move faster and more often. Mechanicus aims to set the standard when it comes to aligning the game with existing 40k lore, but we also wanted to go one step further by really exploring this and ground Mechanicus in 40k history. We did this partly by creating new locations, such as the inside of the Ark Mechanicus, for some of those missions where you battle heretical tech priests. Usually the art team at Bulwark Studios would study the physical models and images to painstakingly create the video game version, but with the absence of any reference for the inside of the Ark Mechanicus, we had to improvise. We worked very closely with Games Workshop to create the location while keeping it true to existing lore, and as you see, the finished article looks amazing. As well as new locations, we also created brand new, never before seen characters and bosses, some of which are available at the end of 7 special hidden missions found in the new console edition. To complete the action, we implemented a range of bespoke sound and visual effects that really make the Mechanicus weapons come to life. Having never been represented before in live action, we converted images from codexes and models into visually animated wonders. From the blast of a gamma pistol to the large eruption of energy from the torsion cannon, we again wanted to make sure they were true to the existing lore. Along with the aesthetics, we also had to combine them with impressive sound effects that would match up with the visual firepower. We did this by creating specific and granular sounds for all units and weapons, giving an everlasting impact. We're really excited about Mechanicus coming to consoles because of the wealth of content that we've added to the game. The console version not only contains the base game, but also the Heretic DLC, which exposes the dark underbelly of the Adeptus Mechanicus faction like never before. Brand new narrative events, again written by Ben Counter, allow players to uncover what has brought civil unrest to the Castlestorm Metallicon. You'll take on new but familiar enemies in a cohort of heretic tech priests that have changed their beliefs and forsaken the name of the Omnissiah. Your job will be to stop them before they corrupt you and your ship from within. But the content doesn't stop there. The special Omnissiah edition is also packed for the console version. This gives you access to the stunning Mechanicus soundtrack, the breathtaking digital art book, and a special melee weapon, the Ark's Scourge. The wait, though, is nearly over. We're excited to announce that the console version of Warhammer 40,000 Mechanicus will be available to play on July the 17th. Releasing on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch, you will soon be able to take the fight to the Necrons and conquer the tombs of Silver Tenebris. In the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Mechanicus40k for all the latest news in the build-up to release. We hope to see you there, and stay safe.
Oh, hey there. Video games are a wonderful way to experience the thrill of activities that might be extremely painful in real life, such as kissing, but Skater XL lets you land kickflips and grind rails to your heart's content without the imminent threat of shattering your femur or tearing your ACL. I actually don't know what those letters stand for. That's coming up next, right after we take a quick, painless commercial break, which might have a little bit of pain. Who knows? Just a little bit. Could be there, might not be there at all. You'll just have to watch and find out.
IGN Summer of Gaming is brought to you by Fuser, who will be partying with us all summer long.
We're happy to present IGN Summer of Gaming, featuring the latest and greatest in game reveals, news, trailers, next-gen coverage, and more. Our month-long event features our first ever series of IGN Expos, where you'll get first looks at world premiere game trailers, exclusive game demos, and interviews you won't find anywhere else. IGN Summer of Gaming, only on IGN and IGN One on Samsung TV Plus.
Tired of watching IGN on those tiny cell phones and tablets? Well, IGN is moving to your living rooms. Starting in June, tune into IGN One on your Samsung TV Plus to see all that IGN has to offer, beginning with our exclusive Summer of Gaming event. You'll get first looks at world premiere game trailers, exclusive game demos, and next-gen console coverage that you won't find on any other network, only on IGN One.
The next generation of video gaming is on the horizon, and IGN is here to bring you the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news and analysis in our new weekly show, Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We'll bring on the experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments around these new consoles. From frame rates, services, features, peripherals, and even all the new tech jargon, Next Gen Console Watch 2020 will keep you up to speed on everything leading up to the next generation of gaming. Join us every Friday for a new episode.
News, games, and more is IGN's live news show every day of the week that covers all the day's news about games, movies, comics, and of course more. This is our daily live show that takes a rotating cast of IGN talent, going over all the latest news of the day while taking live questions and comments from chat. We're live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can find us on mixer.com/IGN, youtube.com/IGN, and twitch.tv/IGN. See you there.
Skater XL is the hot new skateboarding game that encourages you to chain together tons of death-defying skate tricks without having to worry about face planting in front of your friends in real life. You can go outside and do that if you want. Here to tell me more is Jeff and Dane from Easy Day Studios. Hey guys.
What's up? Happy Friday, Brian.
Hey, Brian. So what we're looking at right now is the first look at the Nintendo Switch version of Skater XL. I've been very excited for this one personally. I really can't wait to play this, and it's really cool to see it actually running now for the first time. Tell me about bringing this game to Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, we're super stoked as well, and it's something we've always wanted to be able to do since early development. It's such a cool platform. I mean, just the idea of being able to skate around these spots and do all that like portable on the go is just cool. So yeah, we're looking at footage from the Switch to point out, this is exactly the same content that's on the big consoles. Some little tweaks to the graphics here and there, but this is the same downtown map. You're going to have the same LA school map. You can have all the pros, all the gear, and the gameplay itself. Since early development, the same kind of philosophy applies that we want the gameplay to be the top priority. So making sure it's responsive, making sure it flows well, and it feels as close to or exactly the same as the big console versions, and you have the same experience. And then all the content's there as well. So yeah, we're really stoked to be dropping this soon as well.
Awesome! I can't wait for that. Tell me the sort of like core vision behind Skater XL. I know it's obviously to skate, but why make a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's, and I think for anyone that's into the skateboarding sort of genre, there is an ever-growing gap since the last great skate game came out. Obviously, you had the THPS Tony Hawk Pro Skater series that really kicked things off and brought here and the basic mechanic of skateboarding and sort of flowing around the area and doing tricks and stuff, brought that to video games in a big way for the first time. Starting in the late 90s, EA Skate came into things and really kind of evolved the formula and took the genre itself in one step, in a new direction in how they approached things and where the focus was. And that series certainly has just legions of fans. The whole sort of call for EA to make a Skate 4 has become a bit of a meme in gaming and almost in pop culture in general. And so, yeah, it's been 2009, I think it was when, 2010, I think Skate 3 came out. The last in the series. I think everyone was just expecting they would keep making more skate games and developing things. But that ended up being it. You know, that there's been a 10-year gap in the genre, and yeah, that was the starting point. I think it's been a long time, and so, you know, the team as it stands, you know, we're all kind of in the right time off the back of building games in the action sports sort of genre, but all of us coming from, you know, a lifetime of skateboarding, and you know, this is really the title that we've it's a dream title for us, I guess. We're kind of the right place, the right time.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there's a lot of stuff in video games that makes you feel like there'll be a release of your favorite genre every year, and for a while there isn't, and it just goes away. So I'm happy to see you guys are filling the void here. I think like a really great skating game makes you want to go outside and immediately start skateboarding on everything, or basically look at everything through the eyes of a skater now that you've been playing a game. But the environments that you guys have in your game are based on real world environments. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. What we have coming for the release of the game is, you know, maps that are based off real terrain and things that really, you know, you would associate with skateboarding and what skateboarding means to a lot of people, which is, you know, the West Coast, California, downtown LA, schoolyard spots. You know, these are things that to anyone that sort of has a connection to skateboarding or has watched a skate video over the years, like, to a skateboarder's eyes, these environments are like playgrounds, and there's just so many different things in them. So we want to capture. We also wanted to include you know, a whole lot of real spots, and you know, in skateboarding, the spots themselves become famous things. And there's a lot of iconic spots that we've baked into that you would have seen in countless skate videos, and just, yeah, real memorable locations that are all designed into these bigger environments.
Now, is this downtown LA right here?
Yes, we are near Chinatown and Koreatown. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was getting, you made me weirdly nostalgic for like the E3 Convention Center area, especially because we won't be going to that this year. And this might be my closest opportunity to go, especially with no crowds or anything, is going to be very nice. What's the thing that you feel, what's the thing you feel like you have to get right? Yeah, that's right up there. There's like video game ads on those big billboards every single year. This is like really cool for me right now.
Yeah, I think last year was Doom maybe had a...
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm getting very nostalgic.
You do the coffee meetings across the road at the steak place, or the there's that Chinese restaurant as well. But you might notice we have reconfigured things a little bit. This is very much designed with gameplay first. As the gameplay, that's our core focus on everything, is that, you know, if we're going to include a real spot, we have to make sure it's fun and not, you know, just something that's like perfect to real life, but then it doesn't skate game with the game mechanics. So it's getting that balance of like keeping the essence and what makes the spot memorable and recognizable, but making it work with the gameplay at the same time.
And one of the things you've done here to ensure that is you removed all of the security guards who are always standing outside of the LA Convention Center. One, because they're pesky, and two, because the security guards are the known enemy of the skater.
Absolutely, and you know, it's. I mean, this is one of the things that was perhaps a little contentious with some of the games of the past, was NPCs and the function of having the environment be the thing that's challenging and interesting, and then having you know, sort of elements of the gameplay that are really just there to randomly, outside of your control, like spoil the party at just the wrong moment. So. To point out as well, this is not quite the complete version of the levels. There's some elements and some things that will be, you know, bringing these levels to life a little more. Sort of more of that coming in the next month or so.
Now, skating is in real life all about physics. It's about momentum and landing and making sure that you can link everything together. What's the hardest thing about getting physics right in a skateboarding simulation game?
You're making me pick one.
Well, I'll put it this way then. What's the thing that you felt like you absolutely had to nail, like a feeling in real life skating that you really, really wanted to make sure it was like one of the most important things to get down here?
Yeah, and this is a very, very interesting thing, I think, core to the game, that I mean, not to get too much into the weeds of the game mechanics, and I think the evidence is there when people play the early access version of the game. We see the response that it's had. I think we feel like we really, have been hitting the right points and prioritizing the right things, and it really comes down to the control and the sense of expressiveness that you have. The sort of metaphor we've had in development is that we really want something that is like a skateboard that you do with it. We have, I mean, this is really a first for skateboarding games in general, is that we haven't programmed tricks into Skater XL. We've programmed movement of the board, and through the sticks you have independent control of the feet through each stick. Moment to moment, we read those sticks at a very high rate, and that is mapped into the physics of the game at a very high rate. What you end up is something that, as you move the sticks, you feel and see immediately the response to that. And you have this thing that's like, it's much more like learning to play a musical instrument than it is unlocking some challenge designed into the control scheme itself. There was a well-known control gameplay designer from Ubisoft who did some great GDC talks some time back about expressive control design. A lot of that stuff we took to heart, in that, that really resonated with us, is that there's something about skateboarding. There's a reason why things get, it's such an addictive thing, and a thing that around the world, this culture and this, there's so much more to skateboarding than just going out and, ticking some box of like you did a trick. You can be working on your ollies and kickflips forever. There are pro skaters that you look at the way they do those basic tricks and you're like, you can do even the basics, the way you execute them. So that's something that we wanted to capture, was the feeling that it's more an extension of you. It's kind of like, if you do happen to play an instrument, you sit down after 3 years and play the same song that you played 10 years in, and you're going to feel a lot more expressive, your ability to play that and really put style into what you're doing. And, it seems like a strange analogy to go from music to skateboarding, but like, I think that's kind of the sort of best image I think we're able to paint, is that the game doesn't end when you can do a trick. You really keep evolving in the way that you execute things, and those subtleties, and then the way that you can skate spots, and the number of things you can do as you flow around is just, really limitless. So yeah, very sandboxy style gameplay with these big environments to skate around.
I love it. I appreciate that you sort of put that in there, that it does feel more like a musical instrument. It does feel more freeform, because that means it's going to take a long time to really perfect it. And I think that that's what people are looking for right now. They want something they can really dig their teeth into. Hopefully you don't have to wait for a long time to play this game, because it's out in July and it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC.
Yeah, correct? Yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, it's the first skateboarding game to come to all major platforms. We keep saying since EA Skate, in 10 years, but Skate wasn't on PC. So, our goal is really to bring skateboarding as it, it seems to be having a little bit of a renaissance. It's going to be in the Olympics in 2021 now. The Olympics have been rebooked, but skate growing all around the world. It's a little bit of mixed sort of feelings, I guess, about Olympics and how competitive skateboarding fits into street skating and all that. But in general, I mean, skateboarding's coming back, and our goal has been to bring it to as many people as possible. And so from the outset, making sure that we could bring it to the Switch, which has just come out the gates so strong. It's such a cool platform, and coming out on all four very soon.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really can't wait to play Skater XL. I think I'm going to play it on Switch because that just feels right. I always wanted like just a portable skateboarding game to bring anywhere, even though we're not going anywhere anymore, but we'll make the best of it. That's Skater XL. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, you! Yeah! You. Did you know that you can get bonus Summer of Gaming content by downloading the TikTok app, following IGN, and searching our Summer of Gaming hashtag? Oh, you did know that? Wow, what a waste of your time then. I'm sorry.
How dare you waste these good people's time? Well, a good use of your time would be by donating to the Bail Project or the World Health Organization by clicking the links in the video description or heading to donate.ign.com. Do it! Feel helpful! Help make the world a better place. It's wonderful. Somebody just donated. I can feel it. And that's great. You're great. You specifically out there, whoever it was who donated. And as a way of saying thank you to everyone who's donating and watching, here are some fun trailers as a special treat. Enjoy.
出張ってきてるぞ。どう始末つける気だ。君と最後に話したくて。
あのロボット取り返して一人で戦うつもり。
騎兵を呼んだのか。なんだ、少し形が。
こんにちは。出てきた。
てめえ知ってるぞ。学ラン狩りの肘山とかいう肘山貴俊だ。
そこの3人のしただけだ。
まさか。さあ来い。
てめえ。
俺はさくらの網口じゃ。
え？
何？
私の転校先だ。
本当に？
じゃあ撃てよ。撃ってみろ。ほら。
バカにするな。一体どうしたの？
真実を知りたい。それだけです。
Coming up next, we're taking a look at Total War Troy, the latest entry in Creative Assembly's award-winning strategy series. You know, one day when I grow up, I hope to too become an award-winning strategy series. Until then, we're taking a quick break.
IGN Summer of Gaming is brought to you by Fuser, who'll be partying with us all summer long.
Tired of watching IGN on those tiny cell phones and tablets? Well, IGN is moving to your living rooms. Starting in June, tune into IGN 1 on your Samsung TV Plus to see all that IGN has to offer, beginning with our exclusive Summer of Gaming event. You'll get first looks at world premiere game trailers, exclusive game demos, and next-gen console coverage that you won't find on any other network, only on IGN 1.
The next generation of video gaming is on the horizon, and IGN is here to bring you the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news and analysis in our new weekly show, Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We'll bring on the experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments around these new consoles. From frame rates, services, features, peripherals, and even all the new tech jargon, Next Gen Console Watch 2020 will keep you up to speed on everything leading up to the next generation of gaming. Join us every Friday for a new episode.
News, Games, and More is IGN's live news show every day of the week that covers all the day's news about games, movies, comics, and of course more. This is our daily live show that takes a rotating cast of IGN talent, going over all the latest news of the day while taking live questions and comments from chat. We're live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can find us on mixer.com/IGN, youtube.com/IGN, and twitch.tv/IGN. See you there.
We're happy to present IGN's Summer of Gaming, featuring the latest and greatest in game reveals, news, trailers, next-gen coverage, and more. Our month-long event features our first ever series of IGN Expos, where you'll get first looks at world premiere game trailers, exclusive game demos, and interviews you won't find anywhere else. IGN's Summer of Gaming, only on IGN and IGN 1 on Samsung TV Plus.
Welcome back to IGN Summer of Gaming. Hey, you know what's more fun than a wooden horse full of sweaty dudes with swords? Total War Troy! Let's toss to Damon for a closer look.
I'm Damon Hatfield, and it's time to talk about Total War Troy. I'm joined by senior game designer Milcho Vasilev. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So tell us about Total War Troy. This the latest entry is going to be focusing on the Trojan War. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's going to be focusing on the age that was around the Trojan War and the Trojan War in particular.
Mm-hmm. And this is the first time that the Total War series has sort of been set in this era, right?
Yeah, it's not only that this is the first time that any Total War game is set in this era, but it's actually the first time that we go so much back in time, all the way to the Bronze Age.
So what are the two sides that are at war here? I mean, obviously, we know, but sort of set it up for the version that you're going to be showing us.
Well, the game is inspired by Homer's epic, the Iliad and the Odyssey. So the two main sides that are going to be on the Trojan War are, of course, on one hand, the Trojans, and on the other hand, the Greeks, or the Achaeans, as they were called at the time. And the game starts with this whole conflict from when a Trojan prince by the name of Paris steals the wife of one of the Greek kings by the name of Menelaus, and sails her all the way to Troy, leading to what would later be known as the Trojan War.
Sure. So is Total War Troy going to feel familiar to fans of the Total War franchise?
Yes, it's going to feel familiar in the way that we're keeping the main formula of the game that has always been around. But we are also adding new features that are going to be seen for the first time in a Total War game.
So tell us about some of those new features.
One of the biggest new features that we're including is the new multiple resource economy that we have. Since this is the Bronze Age, and at the time they didn't really use a lot of money to trade, or gold, or coins, or anything of the sort, what they usually used was goods, like people would trade wood for food and other stuff. So what we did is instead of having just one resource with which you can use to buy anything in the game, in the economy of the game, there are multiple resources, each of which is used for different kinds of stuff. Like the food will be used to support your armies, where wood and stone would be used to construct new buildings and upgrade your settlements, whereas gold would be, we still have gold, but gold is a very special type of resource which is used only for a select few things in it. One of the things being with the other new system that we have with the Divine Wheel system, which is our representation of the gods at the time, because as you probably know, the people at the time in the Bronze Age were very, very religious. For them, the gods were not just something that some of them believed in or something, but they thought that the gods walk among them, and they also sought the favor of the gods in one way or another. And we have also represented that into Total War Troy, where you as the player, choosing your nation, can choose a god, and or maybe more than one, and try to gain his or her favor, and that will lead you to certain types of benefits inside the game, like in the battle or in the campaign even, depends.
So speaking of that campaign, as we play through, are we going to get to play both sides of this conflict?
Yes, you're going to be able to choose from 8 different factions, each one being on one of the sides, either the side of the Greeks or the side of the Trojans. But since this is a total war game, you can do something radical and try to change your allegiance, or want to play it your way, or just see what would happen if Achilles would actually ally with Hector instead of fight him to the death. And so yeah, you could also do that in the game.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about the epic heroes that you're including.
Well, there are a lot of heroes that are in the Iliad and the Odyssey, and it was a really hard time for us choosing which ones we wanted to make the epic heroes the center of the Total War saga Troy. Obviously, some of them are no-brainers, so to say, because you can't have the Trojan War without having Achilles, without having Hector, without having Menelaus, who was wronged, and the whole war started because of Paris, who is also into the game. And so we've tried to pick the ones that were most, how should I put it, most influential to the war and most important to it, as well as offer the greatest variety of different gameplay mechanics to them, because we wanted to make sure that each epic hero feels different in the way they play, so that when the players choose to try out a new hero or a new campaign, they can experience it in a different way, with different campaign mechanics that are unique for the hero, different battle abilities, battle units, and so on.
And then you can also take sort of more fantastical units into battle with you, is that right? So, for example, like a Cyclops?
Yeah, so what we are doing is one of our main design pillars is to show what is the truth behind the myth in this age that's so long past. And we know that every myth and every legend is probably embedded in some sort of event or something that really happened. So we try to unravel the mysteries of time and see what could actually have inspired stuff like that. And one of the ways we do that is like with the epic mythic units that you can recruit in your armies. Like one of the units you probably saw in our footage is the Minotaur, who is not like a real Minotaur who is half bull, half human, but is this huge bull of a man with a large bull skull on top of his head to scare off enemies, wielding a large two-handed axe. But he's probably some bandit lord who is trying to incorporate the myths of old and sow fear into the eyes of his enemies by his visual appearance. But yes, he is a unique type of unit that you can see in the game, as well as others. I believe you also saw the Centaur, who are believed to be half human, half horse. Whereas in truth, the thing that inspired that would be that some people from some tribe maybe were so attuned with their horses and were so used to riding them and even fighting from their back, which was something that didn't really happen in that era, that some people would say and believe that they're one with their horse. And so that's how we have represented the Centaur, for example, in Total War Troy.
That's a really cool way to sort of represent the myths of the time. Tell us about how the divine wills work.
Well, as I said previously, the player has access to a special use system, which is the Divine Will system, which represents the pantheon of the Greek gods. And in the Trojan War, the gods actually, according to Homer, took active part in the war itself, some being on the side of the Trojans, others being on the side of the Achaeans. And here, this is also the case, whereas when doing certain stuff in the game, depending on what god you want to appease, you may gain their favor, or you may use special types of agents or other actions that to gain the favor of the gods that you choose to be aligned with. And depending on which gods you choose, you're going to get different types of benefits into the game. Like, for example, appealing Ares, who is the god of war, will, of course, make your troops much better in battle. Though appeasing Apollo, who is also believed, apart from being the god of poetry and music, is also the god of the archers' favorite. So appeasing him would make your archers be more accurate or fire faster inside battles. So even though the gods don't appear as entities inside the battles, the very fact that the people waging those wars believed that the gods were staying behind them makes them perform better into the battles.
Well, Total War Troy is looking very cool. What's the release plan? Is it still on track to be released this year?
We will be announcing a release date really, really soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Okay, we definitely will. Milcho, thank you so much for joining me today.
Welcome to Check Out This Game on IGN Summer of Gaming, highlighting exciting under-the-radar games worth your attention. This time we've got an exclusive look at Unto the End, a side-scrolling action platformer about a father fighting to try to get back to his family, with combat that focuses on reading your opponent's actions. Here's some exclusive new gameplay. Like what you see? Then head on over to IGN.com or YouTube.com/IGN to watch the full extended version of this gameplay.
You just saw Unto the End with Tom Marks. Be sure to keep your donations to the Bail Project and the World Health Organization coming. And don't forget to follow IGN on TikTok and search for IGN's Summer of Gaming hashtag. And also, are you registered to vote? Are you remembering to recycle? Do the pets have enough water? It's very hot during the summertime. Anyway, later on, special editions of news, games, and more, and My Dumb Show Up at Noon are coming up. But up next, Blue Fire is a gorgeous new 3D platformer that turns players loose in a desolate kingdom filled with mysterious perils and danger around every turn. Behold!
Sometimes the most challenging opponent isn't some menacing enemy with a huge sword, but a line of tiny platforms over a bottomless pit. While 3D action-adventure game Blue Fire seems to promise plenty of encounters with both, the brief 30-minute hands-on demo I played left me wanting more, and had me wishing I'd seen just a little more variety in its fights. As the pint-sized fighter Umbra, I was able to navigate the abandoned castle halls of a world called Penumbra, with fun traversal options to avoid dangerous pitfalls. Figuring out the best configuration of platforming to get past an area became a fun puzzle in itself, like wall running to correct a near-fatal mistake. Umbra's dash mechanic was equally enticing. Holding down the button gave me a lengthy boost, but letting go early would stop my momentum completely and became essential for making precise landings. Blue Fire's reference to other action platformers like Hollow Knight may be laying on a bit thick at certain areas, but the way it handles its 3D exploration and hints at other unlockable goodies appears to do an admirable job at trying to set itself apart. One particularly prominent feature I explored was an optional isolated area called a Void. It transported me to a sort of challenge room. Here I was tasked to hop my way across increasingly dangerous gaps to ruined platforms floating above an abyss. In these instances, quick camera positioning was just as important as accurately judging the length of jumps to make a correct landing. Failing to jump was punishing, but fair, and I was able to follow collectible breadcrumbs and other interesting loot before completing the area. I only wish I was able to spend some of the currency I was rewarded with on some of the exciting sounding upgrades that were sadly disabled for the demo. That disappointment was an unfortunate lingering presence, but only because this demo ended far too soon. Since I couldn't unlock upgrades or fight against anything but a few groups of basic enemies, I found myself restarting the demo just to get more chances to experiment. Umbra can swing incredibly fast and hard, taking out most of these foes before they could do much in return, and I realized I was hardly paying attention to my character's stamina bar that was slowly depleting with each strike. I'd even go so far as to wonder if a stamina bar is even necessary in Blue Fire, and would have loved a bigger encounter to put that thought to the test. With the demo ending after an ominous cutscene, I was left feeling just a bit conflicted. I do like what I've played so far. Platforming feels fluid and precise, and there's a lot of potential for void zones to truly test your skills. Lock-on combat also feels like a great inclusion, but with so few enemies to fight against, it's hard to say how varied and challenging things will actually get, or if unlockable abilities and upgrades will make a worthwhile difference. So, while I'm certainly left with questions, I'm also eager to play more to get some answers. For more on somber-looking action platformers, you can also check out 16 minutes of Hollow Knight's Silksong gameplay. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Hey, look who's here. It's us again. Anyway, don't forget, all summer of gaming long, IGN is asking you to give to the World Health Organization and Bail Project to combat COVID-19 and reunite separated families, respectively. You can find out more or give at donate.ign.com or by following the links in the video description. And if you download the TikTok app, follow IGN and search for IGN Summer of Gaming hashtag, you can upload your own gameplay moments and find tons of bonus Summer of Gaming goodness, as well as lots and lots of videos of people dancing and doing lip syncing and all sorts of nonsense.
All sorts of various treasures. But up next, grueling manual labor is difficult under normal circumstances. But can you imagine how much worse it is in the unforgiving void of space? I can. I've been to space. I've been to the moon to fight aliens. And if you see me, you can ask me all about it on my new show. Just kidding. Well, if you can't, here's a game that might give you a better idea. It's called Hardspace Shipbreaker, and it's up next. And it sounded like a curse, but it wasn't.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Hardspace Shipbreaker. I'm Trey, here to show you our next ship class, the Gecko. Now, Geckos are much larger ships compared to Mackerels, which are the ship class we've shown before. This particular Gecko is an industrial transport ship with minimal crew and a large cargo space in the middle here. Today we're going to be completing a work order, salvaging some large chunks of the ship, and showing you how the three main elemental systems in the game are interconnected. That's electricity, fuel, and coolant. But first, we've got to get inside. Now we're going to intentionally keep this room pressurized, so we're not draining our oxygen tank while we get a lay of the land.
Airlock pressure levels increasing.
Okay, looks like we've got a small coolant leak down here, causing some damage and freezing some things. We should probably keep an eye on that. Now the coolant comes from the Environmental Control Unit, or ECU, which is coming from this room right here. And in this room, we've got the power generator that sends power throughout the ship. We'll come back to this in a bit. Coolant keeps the reactor from melting down. As soon as we sever the coolant line from that reactor, it's gonna become unstable. So we should keep that coolant line connected to the reactor for as long as we can. So we're getting a reading that this room is unpressurized, meaning it doesn't have any oxygen in it. When a room is unpressurized, you're less likely to accidentally cause a decompression event with one of your cuts.
Air pressure level decreasing.
So now, we're using our own O2 to explore this area. Alright, looks like the cockpit and crew quarters are empty. Let's see what else we've got going on. So now that we've seen the power generator and the ECU, it's time to take a look at the reactor. Now the reactor is basically the heart of every ship. It's the most valuable piece of salvage, but it's also the most dangerous, because once you remove it from its coolant casing, it begins to melt down. And you never know how many ticks you've got until it goes boom. These are the ship's thrusters. They're connected to the reactor by these fuel pipes right here. And these pipes are filled with fuel, so we should try to find a way to flush them before making any cuts. The work order is asking us to salvage some antennae, so we're going to snag them with the grapple tool right here and then deposit them on the barge. Now our grapple tool here has been upgraded, so it can grab, pull, and push both light and heavy objects pretty quickly. Now that some of the easier parts of the work order are done, we can focus on the more challenging objectives. The ECU is in a pressurized room, which makes things a bit more complicated, because if we remove the power, we won't be able to depressurize the room anymore.
Air pressure level decreasing.
Guess it's just a risk we're gonna have to take. The first thing we have to do is salvage the power generator, and to do that, we need to remove the breakers. But that's easier said than done. You only have a brief moment between power pulses to pull that breaker. Miss that window, and you'll get shocked. Or worse.
Warning, electrical damage.
The number of breakers and their locations vary from ship to ship. Now the power generator should be safe to remove. If we decided to remove it before pulling the breakers, bad things would have happened. This power generator is extremely heavy, and we really don't have the space to take it out. So we're gonna have to make an opening somewhere. Let's see if we can remove this front section of the ship. We're gonna use the structure filter on our scanner to look for cut points. These yellow structural points are the glue that holds the ship together. Whoops, accidentally sliced a heat sink there. Now some of the walls and pipes were flash frozen and are now damaged and brittle. Now we're going to tether the section of the ship that we just freed up by removing the cut points and peel it like an onion to get the power generator inside. The strength of tethers stack, so the more you use, the greater the force of the pull. Now we can grapple the power generator and carefully push it down to the barge.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
The final objective in the work order is to salvage the reactor. Let's see if we can flush these fuel lines to the thrusters beforehand, so we don't risk a massive explosion once we pull the reactor. Here is a utility key, which we normally would have used to flush the fuel, but because we salvaged the power generator earlier, the fuel terminal is no longer functioning. Well, looks like we're gonna have to flush these fuel lines by hand. Sometimes this can cause a fuel rupture, causing flames to burst from the pipes, but it looks like we got lucky this run. If you're ever in a pinch, you can touch a pipe with your hand and hear the flow of fuel inside it. It's a great way to tell if the pipe is safe to cut. Any additional components and resources you gather that are outside of your work order earns you extra credits that help you pay down your debt. Completing work order objectives earn you links tokens, which give you access to new tools and upgrades, as well as pay for your oxygen and tether supply. Salvaging high-value components like thrusters is always a good idea. The next step we need to make is to cut the reactor free. Now this is a bit of a complicated step because there are active elemental pipes nearby. We want to make as big of an opening as possible because the reactor becomes unstable as soon as you remove it from its coolant casing. It's best to move everything you can out of the way before you go for it. Looks like this reactor's been damaged, likely because of the coolant explosion we had earlier. This means we don't have a lot of time once we begin the extraction. Well, here goes nothing. Thanks for watching this little playthrough of Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Well, we are winding things down here on IGN Summer of Gaming Expo number 3, but there is still more to come. Up next, our pals at News Game and More will be rounding up and breaking down all of the biggest gaming and pop culture news of the day that we might have missed while showing you cool trailers and gameplay and whatnot. And then after that, Brian and I are going to get very stupid on our little nonsense show up at noon, which is actually at 5 p.m., not at noon, with an exclusive reveal of a very weird video game in action that may or may not involve farm animals. Who knows? You have to tune in to find out.
Can you guess the animal? If you do, we'll give you $1 million. Just kidding. We'll be tapping out until Monday, but IGN will be streaming the Guerrilla Collective digital event and PC Gamer show over the weekend. And on Monday, we'll be back in full force with Expo number 4. That's Quattro, which is our biggest day so far, following that up with several hours of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom related content. And don't act like you're not excited for that game. We've seen how much traffic our SpongeBob stuff gets on IGN. You all click it. You see that little square wet man and you click him and you look at his shorts and you watch his films, and I know we see the data. You're into it.
All right. A huge thank you to everyone who's been donating to our charities, the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Response Fund, and the Bail Project. And if you didn't yet, it's not too late. Either check the links in the video description or head on over to donate.ign.com.
And while we're asking you to do stuff, why not download the TikTok app and follow IGN? You can search IGN Summer of Gaming hashtag for bonus content or to upload your own gameplay clips.
That about wraps things up for IGN Summer of Gaming Expo, so whether you genuinely enjoy our content or you're just here to argue with strangers in the chat, stick around! News, games, and more is up next. IGN Summer of Gaming is brought to you by Fuser, who'll be partying with us all summer long.
The next generation of video gaming is on the horizon, and IGN is here to bring you the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news and analysis in our new weekly show, Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We'll bring on the experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments around these new consoles. From frame rates, services, features, peripherals, and even all the new tech jargon, Next Gen Console Watch 2020 will keep you up to speed on everything leading up to the next generation of gaming. Join us every Friday for a new episode.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are.